بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم ما بعد. We were discussing Ṣawm, fasting. So a recap of what Imām al-Ghazālī rahimahullah spoke about in the previous lesson. Talked about the benefit of fasting, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in one hadith which is recorded by Imām al-Bukhari that every type of good action is given the reward of 10 times its like up to 700 except for fasting, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept the reward of fasting a secret because He will give the reward for fasting. It's a special reward. He then talked about reasons of why fasting is so great. He said that fasting is a hidden action. You can't really tell when someone is fasting. You can tell when someone is performing salah or giving zakat. As for fasting, you cannot really tell. And even if you see the person not eating, you don't know if they're eating elsewhere. So it's a very hidden type of action. So that's one of the reasons why fasting is given such great importance. Another reason why fasting is given such a great importance is, he says that it destroys the enemy of Allah. So the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shaitan. So when a person fasts, they decrease the effect of shaitan. So shaitan cannot affect us as he would be able to had we been with a full stomach. So this is basically what he was talking about last time. He also talked about 3 levels of fasting. The first is a person who limits themselves to fasting in Ramadan only. That is the bare minimum for us. If we're a Muslim, we must fast in the month of Ramadan, except for those who have valid excuses. The Sharia does keep them in mind, and there are certain individuals who can't even do that. But he's saying for able-bodied people, the minimum is you fast in Ramadan. And then he spoke of the highest form of fasting, and that is the fast of Dawood alayhi salam. So Ṣawm Dawood is the best type of fast that we can do, and it's recommended by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. He didn't really perform Ṣawm Dawood. Sometimes Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would fast for over a month straight, and sometimes he wouldn't fast for a whole month. So his fasting habits was sometimes altered. And we know before Ramadan, for a few months, he would fast very continuously. But when he spoke of the fast of Dawood alayhi salam, he spoke highly of it. And the fasting of Dawood alayhi salam was that he would fast alternatively. So every other day, Dawood alayhi salam would fast. So this is the best type of fasting. And we talked about also last time why it is better than fasting every single day. Right? And that is because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has recommended it. And there's a spiritual aspect too. It is very strong in subduing the nafs. Okay, and now today he's going to talk about the secret of fasting, the style of Dawood alayhi salam. He says, وَسِرُّهُ أَنَّ مَنْ صَامَ الدَّهَرَ صَارَ الصِّيَامُ لَهُ عَادَةً. A person who fasts continuously, every single day, then fasting becomes a habit for them. So it can no longer affect the body. It becomes it's habitual, a person's used to it. It doesn't have that effect. You don't feel tired. Your desires are not subdued. فَلَا يُحِسُّ بِوَقْعِهِ فِي نَفْسِهِ بِالْإِنْكِسَارِ وَفِي قَلْبِهِ بِالصَّفَاءِ وَفِي شَهَوَاتِهِ بِالضَّعْفِ. If you fast every single day, yourself will not feel weak and humbled. Your heart will not feel the nur of fasting, and your shahawat, your desires. And our desires are spurred on by the food that we have. If we have good nutrition, we'll have more desires because that's part of a healthy human being. And if we slowly decrease that nutrition, then the desires will also decrease. So he says if you become habitual of it, like you don't need that many calories anymore because you're fasting every day, then the shahawat will return because your norm has changed. فَإِنَّ النَّفْسَ إِنَّمَا تَتَأَثَّرُ بِمَا يَرِدُ عَلَيْهَا لَا بِمَا مَرَنَتْ عَلَيْهِ. The nafs, the soul of a person, it is affected by sporadic change. So, for instance, a person jumps in an ice bath Why is that so difficult for us to, feel when we get into an ice bath? It's very shocking, because the temperature outside is not the same as the temperature inside. It's a very sudden change. So he says the nafs gets affected by sudden change, not a gradual change. So if you're in a room that is warm and then slowly you get it to a very cold temperature, you're still going to feel cold, but it's not going to be shocking. The shock that you would get if you went from a sauna and jumped into an ice bath is not the same as if you were in a very hot place and then they just decreased 1 degree at a time until you reach that same temperature. You're still going to feel cold, but there's no shock. So he's saying if you really want the benefit of fasting, you need to shock the system. And that is achieved when you do every other day, not every single day. He then says, وَعْلَمْ أَنَّ طِبَّ الْقُلُوبِ قَرِيبٌ مِنْ طِبِّ الْأَبْدَانِ. The medical science of the heart, or tibbul qulub. Tib is medicine. So spiritual medicine, he says, is very close to body medicine, bodily medicine. So the physical medicine that we require for our bodies, that whole science, he says, is very similar to spiritual medicine. So Imām al-Ghazālī is a spiritual doctor, not a physical doctor. But he's saying they're kind of intertwined. وهو سر قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم لعبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما لما كان يسأله عن الصوم. This is the secret of why Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said to Abdullah bin Amr, when Abdullah bin Amr asked Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم about fasting, he said, صم يوما وأفطر يوما. Fast one day and do not fast the next. فقال أطيق أفضل من ذلك. Abdullah bin Amr, he said, I can do more than that. So the Sahaba, they would go and make mashwara with Rasulullah regarding the nawafil, their extra ibadah. They would, if they wanted to do more, they would ask him, like, how much should I do? I want to fast every single day. I want to finish a khatam of Quran every day. Give me permission to do so. They wouldn't just do things on their own. They would try to make sure it was according to the sunnah. So when he tried to get permission to fast every single day, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, fast every other day. He said, I can do more than that. فَقَالَ لَا أَفْضَلَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. So Abdullah bin Amr, he said, I can do better than that. I can do better than every other day. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded by saying, there is no better than that. There is no better than Ṣawm Dawud. So you think that fasting every single day is better, but I'm telling you, there is nothing better than fasting every alternative day. And that's the reason why it shocks the system, and then the nafs is more easily subdued, right? Many times we try to do some type of action, maybe we try to wake up for tahajjud, or we try to avoid a sin, and sometimes we find it very difficult and we fall into the sin, or we're incapable of doing the good action. It's hard to wake up for tahajjud. And that's because our nafs has gained strength over us. So the nafs is very strong. For instance, like, the alarm goes off, you wake up, it's tahajjud time. But you put it on snooze, or you set it for, let me just sleep 10 more minutes. That's the nafs. It's telling you it's warm under the blanket, keep the blanket on top. There's still time, just wait. You can do 2 rak'ahs before Fajr comes in, and then you end up missing it. So if you do Ṣawm Dawud, it will give you the strength to overcome the nafs. Because you're so used to being shocked. The system is always, the nafs is being destroyed continuously. It's not used to anything. So when it comes time for tahajjud, and the nafs is saying, just 10 more minutes, it's very nice and comfy, you're already used to a very rigorous lifestyle. Because every other day fasting, never getting used to anything. So you say, no, I'm going to get up. I don't care. You ignore what the nafs says. Similar cases is for a person who wants to do a sin. The eyes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورِ. Allah knows the khiyana of the eyes. And subhanAllah, no one can tell when a person is sinning with the eyes. A person can glance at haram and no one will know, but Allah Ta'ala knows. So when that opportunity comes, you see something that you like and you want to shift your gaze towards it. If your nafs is continuously, it's habitual of being subdued, be put down. And this is one method out of many. It's Ṣawm Dawudi. That, despite what your nafs wants, you keep putting pressure on it. You don't let it get used to anything. So you will be able to shift your gaze away from that which is haram. It's a very difficult thing. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us on a daily basis. But But this is a training of the nafs. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told Abdullah bin Amr that there is no better than this in terms of training your nafs. So the capability that we can achieve by doing Ṣawm Dawudi is very amazing. And had we fasted every single day, we wouldn't have this capability. ولذلك لما قيل لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن فلانا صام الدهر قال لا صام ولا أفطر. He says, when a person asked, or it was said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so someone is speaking about another person, he said, this so and so fasts every single day of his life. So they were praising him in front of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Such and such person, every day they're fasting. He said, لا صام ولا أفطر. Neither has this person fasted, nor have they broken their fast. They're in limbo, they're in the middle. They didn't fast, why? Because the desires have not been crushed. Yes, they're fasting every day. They are technically fasting. Every day they wake up and then they have food at iftar time. That's fasting. But he's saying la sama, meaning he didn't fast in the sense that he didn't get the spiritual benefit from fasting. His nafs got used to it. Wala aftar, and he didn't eat either. He is fasting. But the purpose and the fruit and the spiritual benefit of fasting, he's not going to get it. كما قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها لرجل كان يقرأ القرآن بهذرمة إن هذا ما قرأ القرآن ولا سكت. So he's saying that situation, what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam just said to that person, he didn't fast, he wasn't eating either, is just like what Aisha radiallahu anha said to a person who used to recite Quran very fast. So this person, maybe he would do a khatam every day. There are some people, they do like a khatam of Quran daily. But in order to do so, you have to read very fast. So it says here, bihazrama. Hazrama is like, reciting so fast that you cannot understand what is being recited, the tajweed is not there. So Aisha radiallahu anha said, this individual has not recited Quran, nor were they silent. They were making noise, but that's not recitation. So was that person reciting the Quran? Technically, yes. They were reciting, they were looking at the Quran, they were reciting. But the spiritual benefit of Quran was lost. And what is that? That's tadabbur, thinking about the Quran. Pausing where Allah talks about Jannah, reflecting, being scared about the places of Jahannam, trying to incorporate the good sifat that we see, staying away from the bad sifat that we see. So all of this is gone. So she says, that's not recitation. Recitation is something else. He was just going very quickly. Okay, so this is what Imam al-Ghazālī in the previous lesson, he was talking about the highest level and the lowest level. Lowest level, just fasting on Ramadan. Highest level, Ṣawm of Dawud alayhi salam. And now he gets to the main one, what he is recommending to us. Because alhamdulillah, we all fast during Ramadan. Now we want to upgrade our fasting. What should we do? So this is the middle path. وَأَمَّا الدَّرَجَةُ الْمُتَوَسِّطَةُ. As for the middle path, فَهُوَ أَن تَصُومَ ثُلُثَ الدَّهَرِ. It is that you fast 1/3 of your life. 1/3 of your life. So the fast of Dawud alayhi salam is 1/2 of your life. It's a little bit more actually, because in Ramadan it's a full month, and then the rest of the year it's half. But it's pretty much half. So he says the middle path is that you fast 1/3 of your life. وَمَهْمَا صُمْتَ الْإِثْنَيْنِ وَالْخَمِيسِ وَأَضَفْتَ إِلَيْهِمَا شَهْرَ رَمَضَانَ فَقَدْ صُمْتَ مِنَ السَّنَةِ 4 أَشْهُرٍ و4 أَيَّامٍ. So he's going to be doing some math here. Maybe I'll need someone's help. We'll calculate this. So he says, if you fast every Monday and Thursday, this is the sunnah of Rasulullah. He would fast every Monday and Thursday. He says, if you fast every Monday and every Thursday, and you add to that the full Ramadan, then you have fasted in a whole year 4 months and 4 days. It's 4 أشهر و4 أيام. So if you add all of this together, Imam al-Ghazālī is saying 4 months and 4 days. وهي زيادة على الثلث. And this is more than 1/3. There's more than 1/3 because 1/3 is going to be just 4 months. He says you would have done 4 months and 4 days. لكن لابد أن ينكسر يوم من أيام التشريق. But أيام التشريق, he says you have to subtract أيام التشريق. أيام التشريق are the days of Hajj. We have 5 days of Hajj. So he says subtract that. You're not allowed to fast on the 5 days of Hajj. So one of those days in Hajj, the 5 days of Hajj, is going to be at least a Monday or a Thursday, or maybe even both. 5 days of Hajj is going to incorporate at least Monday or Thursday. So he says you have to subtract a day from the days of Hajj. فَتَرْجِعُ الزِّيَادَةُ إِلَى ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ. So then you will have 4 months and 3 days. You subtracted one. وَيَتَصَوَّرُ أَنْ يَنْكَسِرَ فِي الْعِيدَيْنِ يَوْمًا. And you have 2 Eids. So you can't fast on the 2 Eids. So if they fall on a Monday or a Thursday, it's going to be, those are going to be subtracted as well. فَتَكُونُ ثَلَاثَةَ أَيَّامٍ. فَتَرْجِعُ الزِّيَادَةُ إِلَى يَوْمٍ وَاحِدٍ. So now you're just going to have 4 months in 1 day. فَتَأَمَّلْ حِسَابَهُ تَعْرِفُ. So he says, look at the beauty. You would have fasted 4 months in 1 day. So a little bit more than one third of your life. So he said this is the minimum. فلا ينبغي أن ينقص من هذا القدر صومك فإنه خفيف على النفس وثوابه جزيل. He says don't let yourself have less than this. Don't suffice with just Ramadan. Do a little bit more. Try to do the 1/3 of your life. He says this is very easy to do for the nafs. It's not too difficult. Monday and Thursday, but the reward is immense. So what can we do, inshallah, on our, a program for ourselves? Every Monday, every Thursday, and also another sunnah is the Ayyam al-Bīd. So Ayyam al-Bīd is, if we're calculating the lunar calendar, it's going to be the 13th, 14th, and 15th of the lunar month. And that has passed already, right? It's passed already. So incorporating Mondays, Thursdays, and those 3 days, that's all we have to do to hit this target. And then Ramadan, of course, we're going to be fasting there, Ramadan. Then there are some special days throughout the year as well. So Ashura, Yom Arafah, those kind of days, fast also. And you'll see, easily you would have done 1/3 of your life would be fasting. So maybe if we do this for a few years, then we can upgrade to Ṣawm Dawud 1 day. But the key is not to just jump into Ṣawm Dawud. Because usually when we try to impose something like that on our nafs, it rebels. There's this famous poem, and the poet, he says in there, he compares the nafs to a child. So each one of us has, you know how they say you have a child inside, right? But the nafs, that's what we're talking about. The nafs is the child inside. It's not that saying is something else, but I'm saying also, we do have a child inside. And that child wants, it desires. And it'll only be content when it gets what it wants. So each one of us has this. You have to train that child, right? Just like when you have children, you have to train children. You teach them slowly. So our nafs needs to be taught. Now, if a child is habitual of some type of playing a game or something like that, and suddenly you just take it away from the child, and then maybe children in today's time like video games. So suddenly you get angry, and this child is playing 3 hours of video games daily. It's not uncommon. Then the dad comes very upset. He just takes the video games and just locks it away. Many of us will react this way, right? The grades come back from school, they're not so good. The video games are just taken, sometimes even broken. So yeah, that's traumatic to the child. So how does a child react? The child throws tantrums, depending on the child's age. But it's very difficult. That's a very bitter pill to swallow. And that in that situation, it's more of punishing the child for getting bad grades. But if we want a child to slowly stop the video games, we slowly wean them off. We don't just cold turkey it. Same thing with drug addiction. You don't. One person, he came to a famous scholar, and he said that I am an alcoholic. I have this issue. And it took a lot of guts to do that, to approach a scholar and go to him with his problems. So the scholar told him, he didn't tell him, no, you have to stop, it's haram. He said, how much do you drink? So he was like, okay, I drink this many bottles a day. He was like, take 1 bottle and keep drinking the rest. They told him to keep drinking, but just take 1 bottle out. So he did that for a while, comes back, he's like, you got used to it? He's like, yes, so now take one less. And that's how he got him off. So there's wisdom, right? It's not that the scholar was saying, oh, you can go ahead and drink and it's halal for you. But he understood that if I tell him to stop cold turkey, he's going to stop for a week and then he's going to add another bottle to his habitual amount later on. So that's how the nafs works. You don't want to jump into Ṣawm Dawood. It's going to be too much. We have this method though. Twice a week, inshallah, we can handle it. If you find it very, very difficult, then start once a week, every Monday or every Thursday. Once you could do that for a few months, then add another day. Then add the ayyamul bid. And the best time to, officially start, I mean, it's obviously, the best time was yesterday or last week. And the best time is now. But if you're very, scared, because sometimes it's scary, I have to go to work, I have to do this, I have to do that. I need to drink. Sometimes the liquid is more important than the food. Then the best time is after Ramadan, because you're forced into this habit. You don't want to lose that momentum. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq to fast and incorporate all the different kinds of ibadah. So we've talked about salah, we've talked about zakat and sadaqah, now we've talked about fasting. There's a little bit more. He's going to talk about the asrar, the secret aspects of fasting. We'll talk about that next time. And then he's going to go into Hajj, and he makes a very beautiful metaphor when it comes to Hajj and what it's all about. So we'll continue that next time, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq. Sallallahu tabaraka wa ta'ala ala khayri khalqihi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.